Hi everyone. Today we are going to see about object-oriented programming. In object-oriented programming, we are going to see about C++ functions. So let us see what is C++ function. A function is a block of code which only runs when it is called. Only it will run if we call that function. It is a block of code. You can pass data known as parameters into a function. Whatever data we pass in the function, it is called as parameters. Also we can call these parameters as an arguments. Functions are used to perform certain action. The function will do only the particular specific action what we have given as a code, and they are important for reusing the code. So the function once we declared can be used many times. We can call it many times wherever it is needed. So it is called as reusing. So this function reusing code will define code once and it is using it many times. Okay. So function is a particular block of code which is used to execute wherever it is needed. We can call it any number of times. So how we can create a function? C++ provides some predefined functions such as main. This main is the main execution which will execute the code, which is used to execute the code. It is a predefined function. You can also create our own function to perform certain action. To create a function, we have to specify the name of the function followed by the parenthesis. So here is the syntax given: void my function parenthesis code to be executed and close the parenthesis. So here my function is the name of the function which is declared, and void means the function does not return any value. So you will learn more about the return values. So inside the function, body of the text will be given. That is the code what we have to add. We can add the code that defines the functions what it should do. Next one is there are different types of functions, that is call by value and call by reference in C++. There are mainly it is divided into two types: call by value and call by reference. Pass value or data into function in a C language or C++ language, that is called as call by value and call by reference. Original value is not modified in the call by value, but it is modified in call by reference. We are giving the original value, and if it is modified then we call it as call by reference. If it is not modified then it is called as call by value. That is referring directly to the value means it is called as call by value. If we refer to the memory space, then it is called as call by reference. That is the address will be given in the call by reference. So once each and every time if the value changes, then it will be stored in the address, and once the calling the address, then the value will be changed. So that is called as call by reference. So call by value in C++. In call by value, original value is not modified. In call by value, value being passed to the function is locally stored by the function parameter in stack memory location. If you change the value of function parameter, it is changed for the current function only. It will not be changed for the value of the variable inside the caller method, such as main. Here is the example program: hash include iostream, which is a header file, using namespace std, void change int data. This is the function name we are giving. Function declaration is done here. Void change is the function we have given. Int main, here the program execution starts, open parenthesis. Now we are declaring a variable, that is int data is equal to 3. Here we are calling the function, that is change data. Change is the function name. The argument is data. Cout value of the data is data. That is to print the statement we are giving cout. So return value is 0 because we are given integer. So we are giving return value as 0, and we are closing the bracket. Now we are defining the function void change int data. So in void change is the function name. It is of return type void, and data is the argument which is of return type integer. Here data value is given as 5. Next, call by reference in C++. In call by reference, original value is modified because we pass the reference. That is, reference means address of the variable. Here, address of the value is passed in the function. So, actual and formal arguments share the same address space. Hence, value changed inside the function is reflected inside as well as outside the function. To understand call by reference, you must have the basic knowledge of pointers. There is concept of call by reference in C++ language by another example. So here first we are giving the header file and then we are giving the function name as swap. That is, we are passing two arguments x and y as an integer type, and then we are giving the declaring the here itself we are declaring the variable swap. So swap is equal to x is equal to y, and y is equal to swap. So what happens means the value stored in x will be stored in the y, and the y value will be stored again, it is swapped. So here in the main integer main, so we are giving the integer type as a int for the main, return type as a integer for the main, and here we are given the value x value as 500, y value as 100. By passing the value to function, that is C out the value of x is C out the value of y is. Now the value of the we are calling the function swap. So what happens? X value will be 100 and y value will be 500. Next one is inline function. So what is inline function in C++? C++ provides inline function to reduce the function call overhead. A inline function is a function that is expanded inline when it is called. When the inline function is called, whole code of inline function gets inserted or substituted at the point of the inline call. The substitution is performed by C++ compiler during the compile time. A inline function also increases the efficiency if it is very small. Let us see about the syntax. So syntax for inline function is inline, return type, function name, parameters, and here we are giving the function code. So what is necessary to use inline function means when the program executes the function call instruction, the CPU stores the memory address of the instruction following the function call. It copies the argument of the function on the stack and finally transfers control to the specified function. The CPU then executes the function code, stores the function return value in a predefined memory location or register, and returns control to the calling function. This can become overhead in the execution time of function, and it is less than switching time from the caller function to the called function. So function call overhead does not occur. What is the main advantages of inline function means function call overhead does not occur. It also saves the overhead of push pop variables on the stack when a function is called. It also saves the overhead of return call from a function. When you inline a function, you may enable the compiler to perform context-specific optimization on the body of the function. Such optimizations are not possible for normal function call. Other optimization can be obtained by considering the flow of calling context and called context. An inline function may be useful for embedded system because inline can yield less code than the function called preamble and return. Next, what are the disadvantages of inline function? The added variable from the inline function consume additional registers. After the inlining function, if the variable number which is going to use the register increases, then they may create overhead on register variable resource utilization. This means that when the inline function body is substituted at the end of the function call, the total number of variables used by the function also get inserted. So the number of registers going to be used for variables will also get increased. So if after function inlining variable increased drastically, then it would surely cause overhead on register utilization. If you see too many inline functions, then the size of binary executable file will be large because the duplication of the same code. Let us see about the difference between inline function and macro function. A inline function is defined by inline keyword, whereas macro function is defined by the keyword hash defined. Through inline function, the class data members can be accessed, whereas the macro cannot access the class data members. In the case of inline function, the program can be easily debugged, whereas in the case of macros, the program cannot be easily debugged. In the case of inline function, the arguments are evaluated only once, whereas in the case of macro, the arguments are evaluated every time whenever macro is used in the program. In C++, inline may be defined either inside or outside the class, whereas the macro is all the time defined at the beginning of the program. In C++, inside the class, the short length functions are automatically made the inline functions, while the macro is specifically defined. Inline is not as widely used as macros, while macro is widely used. Inline is not used in competitive programming, while the macro is very much used in the competitive programming. Inline function is terminated by the curly braces at the end, while the macro is not terminated by any symbol, it is terminated by a new line. Thank you.